Welcome back. This week, we're diving deep into the semiconductor world, which is going through an absolute seismic shift. It is being completely reshaped from the ground up by one single powerful force, artificial intelligence. So let's get right into it. So to really get your head around the scale of what's happening, just look at this number, $1 trillion. That's what the semiconductor market is projected to be worth by 2029, which, is basically right around the corner. And we're not just talking about normal growth here. This is an absolute explosion. And the engine behind all of it is the massive infrastructure build out for AI. In fact, there's a name for this. People in the industry are calling it the gigacycle. And look, this isn't just another buzzword or some passing tech trend. We're talking about a fundamental economic transformation that's rewriting the rules for every single part of the industry. Compute, memory, networking, storage, the whole shebang, all at once. All right, so here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with what feels like a new gold rush and the intense global chip race. Then we'll get into who's actually forging AI's brain, explore the critical memory and packaging bottlenecks, and finally, we'll peek over the horizon at the future tech frontiers. So let's jump right in. The new gold rush. And that's really what this feels like. The stakes in this AI revolution are just unbelievably high, and you can feel the rules of the game changing, almost in real time. And this right here, this is absolutely crucial to understand. We have moved way beyond simple trade wars and tariffs. The main geopolitical weapon today, the real strategic battleground, is all about technology access. Controlling who gets their hands on the most advanced chips has become the new contest for global dominance. And these are the main players on this global chessboard. You've got the US using those export controls and building alliances. You have China just doubling down on self-sufficiency with huge investments. Japan is making a really aggressive comeback. And then, of course, there's Taiwan and South Korea, who remain the absolute linchpins of manufacturing. Each one has its own playbook, which leads us right into the global race itself. Which brings us to our second section, the global chip race. Let's take a closer look at the actual moves these nations are making on this global chessboard. Yeah, this really lays out the core dynamic perfectly, doesn't it? On one side, you have the US restricting access to its top-tier tech, like NVIDIA's latest powerhouse chips. And on the other, you've got China responding by hitting the accelerator, pouring billions into its own national champions, like Huawei, which is already pushing out its own advanced chips. It's this classic push and pull, a real tug of war for who gets to lead. But hey, while everyone's focused on the US and China, you absolutely cannot sleep on Japan. They are making a massive bet on their new national champion, a company called Rapidus. And their goal? It is seriously ambitious. We're talking about mass-producing 2-nanometer chips, that's the absolute bleeding edge, by late 2027. And this isn't just talk. They are backing it with some serious capital. But these national strategies are never clean-cut. Things get messy. Case in point. Intel, a key American company, is reportedly testing equipment from a sanctioned supplier with deep ties to China. And this just shows you how incredibly tangled and complicated the global supply chain really is, where a company's business needs can collide head-on with national security goals. Okay, so let's shift our focus from the national level down to the companies on the front lines, the foundries. These are the massive, high-tech factories that are actually manufacturing the chips, literally forging the very brains of AI. And when you talk about foundries, you have to start with the undisputed leader, TSMC. They are making some huge moves, all centered on AI. For one, they're bringing their engineers from Arizona over to Taiwan to get them trained on cutting-edge production. And get this, they've reportedly paused work on a second factory in Japan, probably to redirect all of that capacity to meet the overwhelming, insatiable demand for AI chips. But Samsung is really building some serious momentum. Their yields on the 4-nanometer process, which basically means the percentage of good chips they get per wafer, are getting much, much better. And that success is paying off. It's helped them land new orders, and they're deepening their partnership with Tesla to produce its next-generation AI chip. So we have this incredible demand, and we have the manufacturers racing to keep up. So what's holding everything back? Well, that brings us to the critical bottlenecks, memory and packaging. This is where the supply chain is feeling the most pressure. Check out this stat. It's just staggering. NVIDIA has already reserved more than half of TSMC's entire advanced packaging capacity all the way through 2026. And remember, this packaging is the critical final step that bundles multiple chips together into a single, super powerful AI processor. Right now, there is simply not enough to go around, not by a long shot.
Now, this reveals a fascinating dilemma for a company like Samsung. You have HBM, the high-demand memory needed for AI, which is profitable, but then you have standard DDR5 memory, the kind used in servers and PCs, which, it turns out, has an even higher gross margin. So what do? It shows you just how tight the entire memory market has become when you have to weigh those kinds of options.
And it's not just about active memory. All of that AI data needs to be stored somewhere. So that's driving this parallel race in NAND flash storage. You've got companies like Kioxia and SK Hynix in a mad dash to stack hundreds of layers on a single chip, just pushing the boundaries to create incredibly dense storage for the data centers of the future. Finally, let's look ahead to the future tech frontiers. Because this gigacycle isn't just about making more chips, it's creating entirely new engineering challenges, and with them, incredible opportunities for innovation. This timeline just shows the relentless, incredible pace of progress. In just 1 decade, TSMC will have delivered a more than 4 times improvement in power efficiency. That is a massive leap in how much performance you can get for every watt of power you use. But the gains aren't just coming from manufacturing anymore. In a really fascinating twist, AI is now helping to design better AI chips. New design tools powered by AI are delivering an extra 7% power saving. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but in this industry, that kind of benefit is on par with jumping to a whole new process node. It's a huge deal. But of course, with all these new capabilities come brand new problems to solve. Stacking chips in 3D, for instance, creates so much heat you need complex simulations just to figure out how to liquid cool them. And trying to inspect tiny, deep holes just a few microns wide, that pushes our inspection technology to the absolute edge of what is physically possible. With so much at stake, security has to be completely reimagined. The industry is moving toward what's called a zero-trust architecture. The idea is simple. Instead of building a big wall around your factory, you just assume you can't trust anyone. You validate every single interaction. It's the only way to protect priceless IP across such a complex and collaborative global supply chain. Which really just leaves us with a big question. In this new AI gigacycle, where geopolitics, manufacturing bottlenecks, and deep engineering challenges are all colliding, who is actually best positioned to own the next decade of innovation? This whole story is evolving every single day. The race for AI supremacy is on, the stakes are enormous, and this technology is changing the world as we speak. We'll be back to break down the next chapter. See you then.